And we're live on the Metal Lab this week, feeling like something that got popped off of a team base that was played this weekend.
Is
I'm
that like free
Jason.
points?
What's that?
Is that like free points?
Pretty much in the condition I'm in right now, yeah, I feel like I'm on my last click. I'm Jason. We have Michael joining us, and absent a couple weeks now, but we have him back. Jordan is in the show again.
We have this guy.
So some kind of event happened this weekend. Some of us were there for it. Nationals, little bit of fun had. I want to let Mike start with his tales of Nationals and how much he enjoyed it and how it went for him. We're gonna go with our personal stories, and then we'll talk a little bit about how the whole thing went overall.
Well, it was amazing. I mean, it's always an incredible thing for me. I really enjoy the social side of the game as well. And yes, the brain ship is creeping up right now. Tentacle porn, no. Uh, uh, it's an emotional roller coaster, right? So my plan for this weekend was I'm getting up there. I'm gonna get there early enough that I'm gonna get a lot of sleep and be ready to go because Saturday is a real marathon, especially if you don't qualify in the first couple qualifiers.
Yeah.
But I got 4 hours of sleep. Thanks, Drake. Because someone decided to come in drunk out of his mind and start talking about twos at 3 in the morning. And
Twos?
yeah, twos. It was like, if you're at the bar and you take home a couple twos, they equal a 4. I'm like, whoa, dude.
Well, Drake, a 4 isn't great.
No, but it's good enough, right? At that point.
It is good enough.
At that point.
And when you're drunk, two twos can look like two 4s, and then you have an 8.
But the math is interesting because if you take home 4 ones, it equals a 6. So that's just. And then he went into depth about what a 2 actually is. But I won't get into that here because it's not the place. Anyway, that aside, emotional roller coaster. I went into the first qualifier and I went 2-1 with some points. The second game that I played didn't have a lot of points, but I managed to clean sweep in my first round. But in these kinds of events, you're playing against 32 people, so unless you take a lot of points in 2-1, then you're not going to make top 8. My team behaved the way that it should at that point, and just dice rolls, etc. Didn't allow me to go 3-0. Went into the first sealed qualifier, so the second total qualifier for the day, and I pulled the dream. I pulled Turtle and Superman, and I had the worst experience probably playing of my entire life. What happened in the first one? I can't even remember. I think I blocked it out. Oh, I ended up going up against somebody who cheated. I won't get into the details of who or what happened. But essentially, I was told that I could not attack when I could have. Lesson learned for me, always call over a judge in a major tournament. Always. Always call over a judge if you have any questions or you're not sure about something entirely. Don't trust your opponent even if you know them. In this case, I didn't. But that's just an important lesson to learn. Second round, I rolled 6 ones in a row. I have never experienced. I've had some really stinking rolls. If you look at my profile on HC Realms, even it says rolling 3s every day. It was awful and embarrassing and just like just really rot me to my core. On top, that kind of rolling on top of just already being super tired. But it's nothing that energy drinks and some support from some teammates. Thank you, Jay. Yeah, that doesn't cure. I came back and I totally annihilated in my third round. Doesn't matter. I thought about it. I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just go back to the hotel, have a nap, sleep it off. But I don't think that that's very very sporting. Even if I'm losing, I'm going to stick it out. I paid for the event. I will provide some points, I'm sure, to someone else if I lose again. But yeah, regardless of, someone told me, they were like, "Oh, well, you used all your karma during the pull phase," because I took the boxes and I put them by my side. And I'm like, please, 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 please. And so, I pulled the dream and I failed. Third qualifier, the second constructed, I ended up placing fifth. I changed up my team a little bit. I ended up going with my orange lantern variant of my Kyle team, and it performed beautifully. I went 2-1, but I got 923 points because I completely melted New Mutants team base. Like, it was not pretty. They played well, but I think that, honestly, the days of the New Mutants team base are behind us at this point. I think the power creep has moved beyond it. And this was somebody who pilots the New Mutants team base a lot and does really, really well with, and has placed really, really well with it in the past. But yeah, no, that was that. So I pulled out of the final sealed of the day and saved the cash. Luckily, they refund you the cash and to be able to use for store credit to be able to use for battle royals, etc., or purchasables if you do qualify earlier, because there was no prize support for day one for the top 4, top 8, etc., for those individual qualifiers. The prize for that is that you get to move on to the top 32. So I ended up in the top 32 that day. Second day, got out there, decided not to switch up to my day 2 team, just stuck with the orange Kyle, and wasn't a very good day for rolls. I was smoking a yellow battery Superman OMA team in the first round. Pulse waving should have been mine. I critical missed twice in a row, and on my stop click, and couldn't get back, and I was pushed out, so I couldn't get back in time to be able to regenerate, and lost with like 3 minutes remaining. Second round, I had the most interesting and just humbling experience of my young career in HeroClix. I got captured. I got captured. I debated saying this on the interwebs, but this was one of those RTFC moments. If you don't know what that means, it means read the effing card. Right? I went up against a team that I thought was like nothing. This is going to be easy steamroll. Atomica, Jim Gordon from GCPD, and that's the piece, right? With Kate and I forget what the last piece was, but with Pro Sellet on Jim Gordon, he had +3 to his attack. I hit him once with it wasn't single target pulse wave, but I pulse waved 2 of them, so Atomica and him, and then Atomica TK'd him up because he had Ion on her, and he rolled a 6 twice because of and that was it. I tried to bring up my Globulus to try and at least hit him once, but he was TK'd back and then back into his own base, and that's all she wrote. That's a guy named Steve from Edmonton. That was really creative and interesting, and I had no idea about that ability, but totally humbling and awesome. I got the bye in the third round, but buys for the day 2, because of the level of the competition, they were giving away full points for them. So I ended up placing 21st. And yeah, great time anyway. Ended up playing a bunch of battle royals afterwards. Got myself a Spider Ham and all the ID cards. Yeah, great time. We'll be going again for my 3rd year next year.
Absolutely, it was quite the experience. So I'm going to follow up next. I had to go through all 4 of the qualifiers. I'm just going to preamble this now. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. The first tournament, there was a computer glitch with the system that they used to do matchups, and Mike was also a victim of this, I'm sure. What ended up happening, and Amber told me after she was finished with her 3rd round, was that in the 3rd round, some of the 2-0s got matched down with 0-2s. So we actually had some pretty unmatched matchups that led to about 6 3-0s by the end of the third round, which, regardless of how it really comes down to you needed a lot of points in order to qualify in the top 8 if you were a 2-1. And I felt like I was in that area, and then when I heard about that, I got a little emotional. I'm an internalizer, so my face showed it, but I was trying not to be that way. And of course, there was hero clicks to keep me calm, so I was where I wanted to be, but it put me in a position mentally that I didn't really want to be in. So I went out to the sealed, and as a reflection of my packs, the cream of the crop for my packs were Ocean Master and Sea King. And I ended up playing those two and a Mob Rule. A great combination of figures, don't get me wrong, because now I don't have to double power action necessarily with Ocean Master in order to try to get some water in order to use his ability to draw straight line or draw lines of fire through water. I can just use that little puddle that Sea King brings up to try to do that. But my first round, I had the Nightmare matchup in Sealed, which was Martian Manhunter. The only attack I hit the entire game was with the Mob Rule that I played. Using Precision Strike, he managed to swing a 10 twice, and I did do 2 damage to the Martian Manhunter, but by then it was just like, and how soon is it going to be until he kills me? And then my second round, I did manage to win, but my opponent also seemed to pull about as well as I did, as his big hitter on his team was Ocean Master as well. And I think he had an XS and Captain Boomerang. And then my third round, I did not do well either. Long story short, because I couldn't score any points in the first round. It's either in the first round I score all of them or none of them. And so I went 1-2 in the second seal. So we moved on to the second constructed. Both the tournaments I managed to play my police team, which consisted of a Cerise, a Banshee, a Rocket Raccoon, and and a Central City Police Officer with a power plant with 6 rings. Of course, the Central City Police Officer makes my team a named keyword team, which gives me some theme probs, which is always useful when you need to be hitting. And with Rocket Raccoon's reroll, he can actually use his reroll and then prob, because his reroll isn't probability control; it's its own reroll. So I did actually have to swing that a couple times. I do have to say, of the constructed tournaments, twice I managed to get under the camera, and 3 times under the camera I managed to win, which feels good when you're live, having people cheering you on and whatnot. I'm at least hoping people were cheering me on. Although in the second constructed tournament, my first round under the camera was against the team heard around the world. It was the Skull Ship with the Batcave.
Yes.
It was the most plastic played in 2 figures in a 300-point game ever. Yeah, Sharif, all the power to you for sticking to it, even and listening and getting through our laughter as we were like, "You're not gonna, you did that, okay?" was pretty much my reaction. But I did manage to score a critical hit with Cerise with a disintegration beam, and it started going my way real quick on that game. And a couple super senses rolls. But my second round, and I gotta warn people about this now. Felix Faust and Doctor Strange as a combination of characters on the board is a nightmare to play against. You're lucky if you get to play HeroClix at all. They both managed to roll their energy dampening power, which is on the orange on the D20, which stops power actions. And of course, running shot is a major power action that my team relies on. It needs to make running shots. In addition, even with my +4 against his +0, I managed to lose the map roll on this, so I lost a lot of the control that my team gets, and he played ranks, which just, stops my team. Long story short, the only chance I even had was towards the end of the game, where I tried to do a running shot pulse wave with my Banshee with an impact beam on a single target with Felix Faust, which hit and subsequently got probbed to not a hit, and I died. I scored 0 in my second round, and then third round I managed to win my game, and onwards to the third sealed. Second sealed, was Flash and Guardians of the Galaxy, which I'm I'm very familiar with Guardians of the Galaxy Sealed, and I know my way around it a lot better than Trinity War Sealed to a degree. And I'm a little bit more comfortable in the play of it. But I managed to pull the Carol Danvers Captain Marvel, and managed to go 3-0 in that tournament. So by the end of it, and that tournament ended pretty close to 1 a.m. Things were running a little behind schedule. So yeah, at this point I was bagged, and I was a little low on myself. And this is where the emotional game comes in. You kind of gotta get through this, because I had lost all confidence in my police team, which I spent months practicing with, getting to know. And I went and tried to net deck a team, and even though I'd run the gauntlet with it in several games, 5 games worth of practice really isn't enough with it, and I didn't have enough of the familiarity with it. And it showed when I went 0-3 in day 2. But overall, I had a ton of fun. And one of the things you'll notice if you're listening, if you're watching any of the streams that come up on Carta Magica's YouTube channel, Carta Magica TV, you'll hear me while you're watching a lot of other people's games. In fact, the first video they put up was the round 1 of the Sealed, where I was playing against Drake, and you heard me succeed in rolling that mob rule attack against the Martian Manhunter in about 4.5 minutes into the game. So, which 30 seconds later, my game was done. But I had a ton of fun at the event. I will go again, and I really hope that Carta Magica does get a chance to run it again next year. They always manage to make it very fun, very interesting, and very enjoyable experience for it. And I mean, they have a nice idea of the times, but if you've been there before, you know that the time isn't going to work the way the time is supposed to work. But now I want to move into Jordan. Jordan, did you get a chance to watch much of the live stream from Twitch? And were you listening to results as they were coming up, or using the internet spy network to find out what was going on while it was going on?
Well, the live stream, I was in and out. I didn't get very much posting on the live stream and much of placing, which I felt like was the only problem with it, is they would be like, show us all these games, it'd be like this, that, the other, but then they wouldn't tell us anything. And it would be like, did anybody move on? Who moved on? Who did this? Is this person still in it? That was the only thing I wish they would have been like telling us. But yeah, I caught a lot of it. I tried to get as much as I could from you guys, obviously through the constant Facebook messages like, hey, updates. But
playing can't.
yeah, I was trying to whatever I could do to get placings and stuff like that from people. I was just posting them in chat, and that was essentially my thing for nationals this year.
All right. So overall, I'd have to say this was one of the stranger metas, and I think this was also reflected in the U.S. Top 32. Amber said it best. In 9 different teams she played against that were constructed, she played against 0 of the same team. And I found a lot of the same thing. I didn't run into a whole lot of repeated teams myself, which means it gets impossible to plan for what you're going to be across the table from, and it really comes down to how well does your team perform as a whole. That was one of my big takeaways from this is, and even after cuts are made, I don't like maybe 1 or 2 teams that have been successful won't be seen, but the zombie team base is still going to be relevant. The Book of Skulls will be gone, but
yeah, I wonder. It's funny you bring that up. I wonder if the dupe Gluttony team is going to be as effective because it doesn't have the Book of the Skull. Because of the way the Book of the Skull affects it, it makes their attacks ultra viable, right?
Let's think of it into the example of what 50 points gives you in the resource world after that. And they could still play, for example, holy crap, I just had it in my brain. Yeah, they could play the Phoenix Force, but I wasn't even thinking the Phoenix Force. They could Mandarin Rings. They can burn rings for +1s, and then they're getting the +1 damage and the +1 attack. So while it's not a +2 to attack, it's still +2 stats.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's that power creep that we've been seeing lately, where attack is way ahead of defense right now, and so the big number defense isn't as effective. I don't know. That's what I'm seeing anyway.
Sorry, I got a train in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear that.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So if I was to say anything, I think there's variations on that team that were tried. One of them did make the top 8, and that was a Indigo battery version of it.
Yeah.
And of course, like you mentioned, it doesn't get the stat bonuses. And to kind of point out with the power plant is really strong with ranged teams. Like a team that really comes already with the range is best practice for the power plant. I think I would feel it would be kind of reaching to get as much as you can out of it. There could be a different combination of entities that might work for it. Somebody's gonna play around with it and try to make it work. It's just gonna be a thing that people are going to try to keep going, but I don't think it's going to be as potent as Kenny has piloted it.
I didn't see it as many times in Canadian Nationals, but in the American Nationals one, there was almost like 6 different variations. There was Nick Necro Gluttony, there was Deadman Nick Necro, there was Deadman Gluttony, there was Dupe Nick Necro, and they all sported different power batteries and different entities. I think there were two. I think there were 2 that had Nick Necro in the top 8 with 2 different entities, and I was like, I like them both.
Yeah,
I think that's quite like the same team though with variation. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about Dupe and Gluttony together with something as variations of it. You know,
but it's the same idea when you start coming into the thing. Like that team has a general idea of what it does, and when you play like Nick Necro Gluttony, Nick Necro packs your team. He either takes damage, you turn him back a click so he doesn't really die, and he deals you extra Mystics damage, or you get rid of your resources and stuff. And in this meta, I thought it placed. I think Nick Necro placed twice at American National in the top 8.
I think that might be mistaken with Melbourne, but I don't have the American National in front of me. But when it comes down to it, the hard to kill team is still a thing. It's still an option. And of course, the zombie orange battery is still out there. I know it was out there at least twice. One of them, our friend Mike White. Another one, our regular on our show, Jake Solomon. Both pilot it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess who? That was my smooth talking of teams. Orange power battery. Super Scroll, man. You pick Pulse Wave, and then you choose it with your orange power battery, and you're sitting pretty because even a zombie team base has to kill you with Pulse Wave, and you've just taken it out and given yourself their only weakness, for example.
Yeah, agreed.
Without having to use a green power battery.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I only saw the green power battery once, and it was in the top 8 a couple times. There's a couple teams with the green power battery. One of them was a Jenny Sparks team who made the top 8, so she's relevant. But Kenny managed to fight his way past it too. So there's
2 of those. The green power battery, Jenny Sparks.
Yeah, because Tom ran it too, right?
Yeah, Tom came in 6th, so he played that one really well. He built that team to fight against a Gluttony team, and he never faced a Gluttony team.
Yeah,
Bill was very, very strong. Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to, is having a build that is strong and able to handle other things along with the thing that you're targeting, right? So if you can handle the thing you're targeting but nobody brings it, then you're hoping that you can run against other things. So
that would have been my big upset because I had built my team not specifically around to handle them, but put tech in my team so that it wouldn't have a problem with it. And it's just like a simple thing of playing head pool and broccoli, why can't it be meat? And if you were to play the smoke cloud, now you're just playing, you're putting hindering tokens under Gluttony and whoever his buddy is. Now they can't heal because broccoli, why can't it be meat? And them sitting in hindering terrain now. Yeah. They have to now break away. You just sit there all fucking day. You have your head pool now hold down an entire team because he's like, okay, smoke tokens, take them.
Yeah. So overall, Kenny double tapped it with the North American Nationals. He's got one more North American National to go. I think Mexico has a Nationals coming up.
Yeah.
And then he's slowly becoming the Patrick Ubelko of this year. He's won 2 ROCs. He's won U.S. Nationals. He's won Canadian Nationals. He can make it a trifecta in Worlds if he keeps up the good work. And he's got a good team of guys behind him if he wants to try Team Worlds as well. So again, congratulations, Kenny, you're doing a fantastic job. Also, shout out to one of the guys I've spent a lot of time practicing with, and that's Ryan Bell, who actually managed to get third place with a tactics variation of the Hope Father team. So, and I didn't let him have any of my tachyons because apparently I got rid of them the second I heard of Higher Brock's team. But he managed to get a hold of 2 tachyons and made it work. And I guess he was telling me a little while ago that all the practice really helped. And even though I did manage to beat him quite a few times in practice, what he took away from that was more beneficial than what I could take away from winning in the games, right? Because he loses like, okay, well, this is what I did wrong, and this is what I got to make sure I do the next time. So congratulations to Ryan on top 3. Good to know.
Oh, he earned it. He earned it this weekend. Watching him play against Brian Tarosky with the Zombies on camera even was pretty. It's such a potent combination, the double tachyon versus that. I mean, coming in and doing 2 pulse waves a turn, it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hypersonic and pulse wave.
Yes, hypersonic pulse wave. Yes.
Absolutely. All right. So with that said, thank you again, Carta Magica, for the wonderful event. But let's move on because we got a lot to talk about with regards to previews. So since the last episode, there have been a lot. There's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Jeez.
5 from I think it was 5. 5 from the HeroClix.com website, and another 6 courtesy of the guys over Carta Magica and Canadian Nationals. So we're gonna try to get through these as fast as we can. Don't forget, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, throw your questions down in the comment section. We'll address them at the end of the episode because we had a lot of questions last week, and if you have more questions this week, we'd like to hear what you got to say. But I'm going to get the screen share set up now and get these bad boys up on the screen so that we can get started now. So Mike's going to be starting with his opinion on this one, but I'm just going to go quick once over with the character. And this is Manifold. He's got a trait, Portals of Space and Time. Manifold can use carry ability. When he does, he may carry up to 3 friendly characters regardless of combat symbols if they each share a keyword with him. And those keywords are Avengers or Secret Warriors. The set's Avengers assembled below, so spoiler alert, there's going to be a lot of Avengers. When Manifold is given a move action and action is resolved, you may give him a free action and friendly characters adjacent. When this action was given, modify their defense values by +1 until your next turn. He's got a combination of phasing, barrier, and telekinesis to start. And then he gets probability control on his second and his last click. Hypersonic there in the middle to kind of change how he works with Precision Strike. A small 3 range. He's generally normal on the dial. And now this is one of those situations where the Avengers team ability could really come in handy. But I'm going to let Mike start off. Mike, what do you think of Manifold?
I think he's amazing. I remember this preview coming up early last week, and be kind of blown away by it. I can see why he's kind of coming out at the time that he is, because we're going to end up retiring, for instance, the Bat Cycle really, really soon. So we need like strong multi carries again. But I really like how you can push him, and he's totally useful pretty much through the whole way through his dial. For 58 points, on click 3 he has 10 attacks still, with Hypersonic Precision Strike. So he becomes an attacker at that point. But before that point, he's a really, really great positioner and support piece. Starting off with like phasing, 12 movement, with TK there. So you have the choice of either TKing like a single character forward, or you can move and then TK. Pushing him along to his second click and revealing the probability control at that time. Prob alone for 58 points is amazing. I think that you can't really go wrong with him. The Avengers TA I'm not that familiar with, actually, to be perfectly honest with you. I know the Avengers Initiative one really well, but...
It's like Brotherhood free move action. Or action doesn't count towards your action.
Total? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense with him then too. I also like how it relates to the character itself. That's not a very meta thought, but it's I mean, him and his dad Gateway. Yeah, it's just nice to be able to see him brought into the fold, I guess, of modern. Obviously, Avengers keyword's good. There's going to be lots of Avengers stuff coming up. Already a lot of Avengers stuff that's out with the movie set that's really, really new. And I just think he's like super, super useful. I will be using him. I definitely will be using him.
Jordan, anything to add on to that?
Nope. I felt like that's generally what it is. I just felt like it's just another example of very clear power creep. Because let's take, for example, Gates is 65 points, correct?
60.
60 points? This
Yeah.
guy's 2 points less.
And he's way better.
PKs, probs, carries the same amount of people, if I'm mistaken.
Yep.
Gates can carry up to 4, I believe.
Oh, I thought it was.
Oh, okay. Still, 3, and the Avengers keyword, which I feel like is a more prominent keyword, especially even more meta-wise, if you wanted to try and build around that wise, is a better keyword as well. Because we saw Avengers-type teams before with the Switch and whatnot at 50 points. It's just, I feel like this is a very clear point of power creep. Over a couple sets, we go, hey, team carry 1 is 60 points, does this, and he carries your team and is generally not useless. Hey, we had a team carry who's not only not useless, but good.
Yeah. Well, and then I didn't even touch on the +1 to the defense on top of that when you move. It's so good.
I think where Gates differs, where he's 2 points more, is that his carry is actually his carry is useful for all keywords. It doesn't matter the keyword. He just doesn't get -2 to his movement if all the carries.
Oh no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
And Gates is also a wild card, and he gets that mid dial really hard to hit super senses. So I mean, like Manifold, if he gets hit, you're taking it. There's no super sensing it out or anything like that. Whereas Gates is, he's got a lot more options, or he's got the chance more or less to get out of it slightly better. I think they're different.
I definitely hear where like the points definitely went into Gates, but this character's way more compact. Like if I have 60 points left on my team, to sneak another prob, barrier, TK carry on my team is always wonderful.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Like that's just it just sounds like having barrier TK is so useful.
Yeah. I think Manifold fits more of a varied choices, but we'll move next to the next character. For the most part, I agree with what's being said, though. Manifold, very useful. He's definitely Gates taking over where Gates was, with the exception of the fact that he's really going to be making Avengers and Secret Warriors teams great. But he can still carry one character as it is, so he could be useful.
And squares through walls.
Maybe this is the guy that gets Jenny Sparks into position.
Maybe.
So next up, we have Ragnarok, the super rare prime from this set. So Ragnarok starts with his trait. Ragnarok modifies his attack and damage values by +1 when targeting a character with the Asgardian or Avengers keyword. And for the most part, he's got relatively colorful dial with the standard fare of running shot, energy explosion, indomitable. He's got shape change on the first 2 clicks. I get the theme, and it adds a rollout if you're not getting psychic blasted, because he does have impervious to go with that. He's got a white defense power. He can use impervious when this power is first revealed. Stop turning the dial, and all opposing characters adjacent to Ragnarok are knocked back a number of squares equal to the damage dealt to Ragnarok this action. This power and its knockback can't be ignored.
Yeah.
That is nuts when you think about the fact that if most of the time when you're based by a character with charge. This is a stop click that won't be stopped by that. And then he pushes you away for it, which could potentially, if you're soft enough, cause you to take a bit of knockback damage, or in the right position, cause you to take some knockback damage. But where I think this character is a little weak is as a prime at 200 points with the robot keyword. If you're building a robot team, there's probably a better way to spend that. But as far as an Asgardian is concerned, with the ATA, I don't know if in Golden Age he'll make a good partner with Split Lip in the Book of Skulls. In Modern Age, with those two things getting out of there, I don't see a lot of teams with him right now.
Tony Stark.
But he is a Dark Avenger. And yes, you're right. The 70-point Tony Stark can mind control him and give you an extra action with this behemoth of a character, even if he's double tapped, to do some damage with.
Yeah,
but,
this guy comes out swinging.
Yeah, he's hard hitting. But his defense really rivets right down. Once you get past the first 4 clicks of 17 defense, which is relatively reasonable to expect, you start hitting 16s. And
did the guy who designed this figure also design figures 8 years ago?
I honestly kind of want to say, you know what's great about this character? He's easy to heal late dial.
That's true.
But look at that 5 damage, 11 attack with that 15 defense.
Yeah, he does maintain his attack fairly well.
Yeah, with the exception of these 2 clicks here of the 9 damage or 9 attack, he can hit, he can bring it.
One of them with close combat experts, though.
Well, I feel like his robot leg, one of them is kind of broken at the end of the dial, and he's shambling along with that sidestep.
But I do really like, if you look at his defense power, you know how you get knocked back? He's got charge and psychic blast with 8 range. So he has options. Hey, defense ability I don't want to deal with. I'm psychic blasting you. Hey, I need to charge you. I'm charging you. He has both options there, which is also really nice.
9 attack.
Yeah. 9 attack isn't always nice, but hopefully at that point
he does have options for sure.
Yeah, but hopefully at that point in the game, your team, your opponents are also a little banged up.
Yeah.
And I also want to point out that because even though the power doesn't say it can't be countered, it can't be ignored, and that means that you can't expect that final shot pulse wave to get this guy through. If somebody tries to take a final shot pulse wave, you still get to roll that impervious because the defense can't be ignored. So on that click, he's still kind of safe from a lot of things. I mean, penetrating psychic blast is still going to murder him, and with a 16 defense, he's not really stopping the attack. But you know, if somebody gets overconfident and tries to pulse wave you, laugh at him, right? But anybody else want to add any more thoughts to this one?
I think it's a neat click. I really like the exotic stop click on him. I find the +1 trait is very, very situational. I mean, there are a lot of Avengers.
If you pull him in this set, you're golden.
Yeah. Oh no, this is a great pull for sealed.
Right.
But in terms of meta, I'm not the right support for sure. Great. But yeah, he does fall apart close to the end. And I did like how you pointed out though the 15 defense is really easy to heal.
I went back to 2002 to add that to it.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, we're going to talk about Abyss. So Abyss has got traded invulnerable, which is cool. Power cosmic. She's got a cool white attack power. She can use poison. When she does, deal each adjacent opposing character damage equal to its printed damage value instead of 1. That is cool.
Outrageous.
And give Abyss a free action and target a character within range and line of fire, which is 4 range. Until your next turn, the chosen character can't use shape change or have its combat values modified. I can't tell you how many shape changes and stuff. Anyway, Jordan, you want to start talking about this one?
I love it. Any character that's 6 clicks long, invulnerability the entire dial with other powers. She sits pretty with 19 defense, invulnerable right at the top. She's got that phasing to get into position, the good molecular lockdown power from her damage power, and she has power cosmic, so none of those bad problems where you end up engaging somebody or basing them when you have your poison power and having them outwit it.
Right.
They are going to be taking that damage for as long as they decide to stay adjacent to you.
Yep.
And when you start thinking about tentpoles, that could be up to 5 damage. Like if she bases Ragnarok, he's taking 5 damage. Well, screw your reducers. You're taking 5.
Yeah.
And even better is that molecular lockdown on against the first click of Ragnarok.
Well, can I jump in here for a second? Dupe. It's the solution.
Oh, that's right, because dupe's only stopping damage that's done by attacks.
Yeah, so he takes more damage at a time or whatever his. I forget. I think it's.
It says printed damage, and he has printed damage too. So
Let me just check. Yeah, it's 2, but still, that's way better than what you were doing before. You know, so you can actually get with an attack, do 1, and then do 2 more, just based on, or do 2 more and then do 1, and he's down to his last click anyway.
Yep.
Like
Jordan,
I think that's a silver bullet right there.
Jordan, do you want to continue on this, or?
No, I think that's generally the entire thing. 19 defense, 11 attack, 4 range. I mean, I think the cost is a little bloated at 140 points when I shouldn't say never, because when I generally say, like, a figure will never be somewhere, somebody plays it almost like, I swear, just to spite me. It's not like we see it in the top 8, but it gets played at a tournament.
I'm still salty about the Rock of Eternity, so don't worry about it.
So that's the exact same thing I'm kind of saying. Is this Abyss? While I will never play it, and I'm sure I don't see anybody on my people that I play with ever playing it, but someone will.
Yeah. Amber's already just said she will, so don't be shocked when you see it. Yeah. So next up, if nobody's got anything else to add here, let's talk about her brother, Ex-Nihilo, or Ex-Nihilo. I'm not sure how to pronounce this.
I think it's Nihilo because he's
yeah. I keep wanting to say it like I'm Spanish or something.
Nihilo.
So he's grounded, but he's got improved movement, ignore hindering, which is always just useful. Once per game, give Ex-Nihilo a double power action and place an origin bomb marker anywhere on the map. At the beginning of your next turn, deal 3 damage to each character and destroy each object, wall, and square of blocking terrain within 3 squares of the marker, and then remove this marker from the game. He's got a white movement power. Give Ex-Nihilo a power action and place up to 3 terrain markers in distinct adjacent squares. The first marker must be within... hindering terrain. I don't know if I said it correctly. The first marker must be within line of fire, and all markers must be within range. Ex-Nihilo can use telekinesis, is his white attack power. If he uses it to place an object, he can immediately use Quake as a free action as if he occupied the square of the placed object. And then he's got a special damage power, which he gets a little later in his dial. Give Ex-Nihilo a power action, make a close combat attack targeting each opposing character within range that's occupying or adjacent to hindering terrain, dealing 3 damage to each hit character. Okay, Mike, go ahead.
Hold on, before we go with this character, can I ask you a question?
What?
His movement power. I understand that you give him a power action, you place 3 hindering terrain markers in distinct adjacent squares.
Right.
What's with the whole first marker, line of fire, markers must be within range? If they're adjacent, they're all going to be within range.
No, they have to be adjacent to each other, not to him.
No. But what Jordan's, I get what Jordan's saying is to a degree, but I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to say this is Smoke Cloud without being Smoke Cloud.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it's just a really weird way of wording it. Like, they didn't have to. Okay, go on. Sorry.
So, yeah. Once again, see you later, dupe. Bye-bye. That's dealing 3 damage. Fucking bombed you. Pardon my language. Bombed you right there. Yeah, just wait until they're pushed out and then use that ability, right? Let's see here. I've had some time to kind of digest this guy today. I really, really like him. You can put him with Manifold as well because they're both Avengers. He gets all of those movement and placement powers that, and then you have room for another character as well. He's 190 points, which is really, really steep, but I think he's exotic enough and he has interesting and useful powers enough that it's worth it. But I mean, as soon as I see 190 points, I think too expensive just automatically in my brain. But I think paired with some good support, like as I mentioned before, Manifold, he's going to be really, really, really good. He might make a splash.
20 points more than a zombie super scroll, though.
Yeah, I know, but it's so different. It's so much different than that particular character, for instance. I mean, zombie super scroll. Like if he hasn't chosen any reducers, I'm doing 3 damage to him from really, really far away, first of all. And the telekinetic quake thing on top of it is great. It's fantastic. I don't know. It's just really interesting. Yes, he is expensive, but I think he's worth the points. I know you go into Zombie Super Skrull. I go into Kyle Rayner territory with him because he's actually 2 points more with Kyle Rayner with the shield on him. But I think I can make it work. I'm gonna try. I like these big bad boys, and I like his sculpt. I like the way he moves.
Anything else you wanted to add, Jordan?
He looks like he's angelically waiting for the bus.
He looks like he's waiting in front of the bus.
Or like he's coming off of the bus to like Las Vegas, and he's like, "I've arrived."
I have arrived.
That's probably gonna be some cool green plastic on the bottom.
People come off the bus to Vegas. Have you generally been on that bus for a long time and look really, really dilapidated? So I don't know how.
Yes, but this is El Nihilio.
Right, this is Nihilio. Yes. Nihilio.
And my takeaway from this guy is he's tricky. He's going to confuse a couple of opponents with everything that he can do. And my personal favorite power is his white damage power. Yeah. That's my favorite power that I've seen on this. I don't like this soft middle dial. Like I don't like the creamy center in the middle here, because it's exposed. It's very exposed to a lot of small hitters. I mean, like 17 defense with the Fen. The guy next to you also has 17 defense. Maybe not so great nowadays, right?
Yeah.
I like TK, the TK Quake. I love the close combat action from 8 squares away. That's fantastic. Or attack, not an action. It's different. From 8 squares away against everybody, dealing 3 damage to each character, which I want to point out is becoming a very common wording in quite a few things, including the Skull Ship, the Supreme Intelligence. This whole like you're just dealing 3 damage when you're not in when you're outside of the normal situation is becoming very common. It's just an observation I'm making, but overall, this is going to be one of those guys that's going to benefit a player who likes to throw a wrench in all his opponents' comfort level, and he's going to make a lot of opponents very confused when he starts doing what he does.
Well, there's just enough room for an entity and a battery.
You know what he reminds me of?
Like
a super exotic magenta.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. He's got a lot more bombs coming out of him than Magenta does.
Yeah, but again, like 80 points more magenta.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, okay, well if he's going to be more than half of your build in the 300-point mindset, he's got to pack a punch and be able to do stuff. Yeah. He's also one of those characters, if you look, when I first looked at him, he's not half bad after he takes a hit. Like he can start to fight.
Yeah. Heck, he can fight right out the gate, and last click regeneration is always kind of it's a nice looking safety net that just always lets me.
It's always, whoever gets hit to the last click, like. Yeah. Sure, it's a nice theory that it happens, but I haven't been playing against people who didn't know the last click of characters in forever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Personally, I do end up on the last click in a lot of cases. I see him with Manifold and an entity and a resource, 25-point-ish resource, and it could be very, very, very good.
And then I see my boy Freddie Freeman causing some big havoc.
We saw Freddie Freeman there this weekend.
I know. I got excited when I saw it.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna move on next to the not prime super rare, the Thor himself. He's got
my boy.
Thor and adjacent friendly characters with a lower point value and the Avengers keyword can use Energy Explosion. If they're named Captain America or Iron Man, they don't have to be adjacent or lower point value. I'm calling it now. Thor, Iron Man, Captain America. You're going to see Iron Man in a minute, and Jordan gets to talk about that. They're going to be the Trinity of this set.
Yeah.
No.
I want to predict a point value on Captain America, but I'm going to do that later after we talk about Iron Man. But Thor is what you see is what you get on the dial with Indomitable Flight, 8 range, double target. Traded Energy Explosion with double target is always good. 228 is it's a little high with no team ability to get through hindering. He's got no way of getting through hindering. So guys in stealth laugh at this guy for the most part, except for the fact that he's got running shot pulse wave, which is really good. He's got enhancement, which if you bring a small shooter with him on his high dial, and that gives you like 228 points, you have about 72 points to work with. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but there's some good good characters in that point value who can really bring it. But what this guy is what you see, what you get. Who's really strong at his high point, but when you get to his low point, he becomes a brawler with 8 range and energy explosion, which is a weird combination of things, though. And Invincible is always, of course, a nice, useful power. And, of course, once again, there's that last click regeneration that gives you hope with no hope. But it's a 19 defense on that last click as well, so he's a little safer than X-Halo. I guess I don't have much to say about this guy. What do you guys have to say outside of what I just said?
19 defense on his last click.
Yeah.
The only thing I have to say in comparison on this, because you said it was a couple points more. Now, I may be a little bit off, but the AVX Thor was 200 points top dial or 175?
The AVX one was 200, 100, I believe.
Yeah, 200 points, and I feel like this guy's a very clearly way worth more than 28 points in difference.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's got Pulse Wave, really good defense abilities, and better defense all the way down.
You know what? I think I'm more or less upset about the idea of seeing enhancement and pulse wave, where I don't want to be enhancing somebody while I'm pulse waving.
He does have energy explosion as a side thing.
Yeah.
Which when I first looked at him, I got angry the same way you did and went, but they gave him energy explosion.
Yeah.
I understand now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not what I'd say angry. I'm just.
I was.
It's one of those things where the trait adds a great deal, and then once you start to look at what the other two guys mentioned in his traits start to do, you start to see some different things start to happen. And this is going to be where I say this is the trinity of this set, where you're going to see Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America kind of form their own teams and be really awesome when they're on the board with each other.
And if they coincidentally play at 300 and 600 points when at lower and higher dials, then that's just nice. But
okay, I have to say it now.
175 point Captain America.
No, actually, based on the points that we have Iron Man at right now, Iron Man is looking, or Captain America is looking to be 130 top dial and 75 low dial.
75 point, yeah.
So with that being said, now Iron Man I have to take a couple seconds to look for because I didn't put these in order. There he is. All right, we have Iron Man, who also has it's an Avengers World trait. Iron Man and adjacent friendly characters with a lower point value, and the Avengers keyword can use defend. If they are named Captain America or Thor, they do not have to be adjacent or lower point value. Colorful dial again because there's no special powers across the dial, but this guy ignores hindering for line of fire. 7 range, 2 targets, 242 top dial, 125 low dial. Hypersonic to start on the low dial, which is actually really reasonable. Enhancement second click, range combat expert, though it doesn't work with hypersonic if you're in the right position or your opponent's getting aggressive. Anyway, Jordan, take it away.
I love it. This is probably my favorite Tony to date in the game, or my favorite Iron Man. My favorite Tony is the 70 point Tony who can mind control this Iron Man. But overall, 5 damage, really outrageous. And I mean, I was looking at what I would play with the new figures before that were on Stark Industries, and then came across this guy, and this guy's got essentially Bethany Cape's trait all locked into one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't remember. Can you use hypersonic and energy explosion together?
No.
No.
No, I was just looking at the top click for the blue dial, or the blue top click there, and with Thor you get energy explosion. So I mean, at least it's options, right? And you have 2 targets, so it's useful. Um, I don't know. It doesn't look like rocket science, really. I mean, it looks like something that'll work really, really well in general. I love the defend. I mean, adding that to the rest of the Avengers near you, or even not near you in the case of Captain America and Thor. Um, it looks like a good overall figure, but I won't be playing it at 242.
Oh, I definitely will. My only problem is 11 attack, but prob more than makes up for it.
Yeah, actually, the prob is pretty awesome, and 5 damage is really good.
I just want to. I want to point out that if this Iron Man and Thor are on the same team and both on their last click, you've got now 2 problems at 19 defense.
That's true. With regeneration as well. Yeah.
Exactly. So I've all of a sudden been given the option to not regenerate my Thor. Come on now. But yeah, so once again, they seem to be following this theme with these big 3 in the sets, all falling into the super rare, and all sharing powers with each other, making each other awesome, as well as what are their keywords. Now,
well, once again, it makes me think of Manifold as well with them, because if they get to their last click and, for instance, the 19 is up with defend, then he moves them and they have 20 defense.
Yep. Of course, that's like that nightmare scenario.
It's a very weird, very situational thing, but that's where my mind went with it.
Yep, absolutely. And I would like to see how, because Captain America has also got I wouldn't call it the curse, but the blessing of high defenses often in the game, although usually it's from sources like energy shield and combat reflexes. Let's see what they do with him this time around.
I'd like to see him with like a free action 2-square barrier, allowing, for instance, if you paired him with the upper points Thor, then he'd be able to do be right next to him and put the barrier up, diagonally, and then he can use Pulse Wave and be single target and not hurt himself.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, it now stands to be seen what Captain America does to add to this trio of death.
Energy shield, energy shield, energy shield. Let's get energy shield.
Energy shield on all of the guys. Have a good day.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So we move on.
We got Superman ally, Batman ally, and support. Those are more like supporty powers and increasing powers. Well, let's get like full offense powers here, or like full aggression powers.
Absolutely. So we move on next to one of the primes in 3D Man. So he's got.
Doesn't look too 3D.
He's got improved targeting, ignore characters, ignore hindering. He's got a trait, opposing characters within 6 squares of line of fire can't use shape change or stealth. Oh, thank you. Friendly characters within line of fire may modify their defense values by +2 when targeted by mind control. And he's got a white damage power, which he has in click 1, 2, and his last 2 clicks. 3D Man can use Perplex, but only to target himself. He can use it up to 3 times per turn, but can't modify his damage value more than once. When he uses Perplex, no matter how many times, at the end of your turn, roll d6. On a result of 1, deal him 1 unavoidable damage.
Oh, no.
Take it away.
Okay.
1912.
I think about, it makes me think about Johnny Quick from the Trinity War set, just in terms of being able to promote his stats incredibly and then possibly take some damage. But there's a lot less chance of him taking any damage whatsoever.
Which is nuts.
Yeah, it's totally insane. So you're looking at basically a 13 attack with 4 damage right off top dial for 90 points. And he's a stealth buster. Doesn't care if you're standing in front of other people because he sees in 3 dimensions in a 2-dimensional world. The whole shape change nerf is really shape change and stealth is really awesome. And then your friendly characters are pretty resistant to White Queen and Greed. Like really resistant to them. I'm going to be playing with this guy. Dibs. Just saying. Freaking awesome. I saw this guy and I almost crapped my pants. It's just so good.
Jordan?
I really like him. I feel like he's definitely going to find his play in the game. Uh, he's the same clicks as Freddie Freeman, but packs essentially a harder punch than he does without super strength.
He's better.
At a bargain of 22 less points.
He's better.
I'm not going to quite say better, Mike, because Freddie Freeman's my homie, and
This is meta, dude. Come on.
My boy Blue.
Freddie Freeman can pulse wave himself back up to top. I don't see that happening with
No, it's
Rudy,
true.
man.
He can do that, but it's
But no. Jokes aside, I really like this figure. I feel like what he does for his points again is like Johnny Quick was outrageous, and then they're like, hey, let's make another Johnny Quick, but let's not give him, I guess, the negative side of his trait or his power.
Oh, and 21 defense when he's pushed out.
And you gave the example of 13 attack. I was like, with a comment you made before with attacks being higher than the defense, a 12 attack, he can hit most people rolling a 6.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you go 12, 19, and 4 on your safe turns, and he's got a 19 defense.
Put him with a crazy TKer, and you're just golden.
Or
Throw a
somebody,
sniper rifle on him, you don't need anything.
or any of the sins to give him energy shield / combat reflexes or permanent 21.
Golden.
Yeah.
What would he do with an entity on him? I mean, like, and possibly a symbiote in the future. Who knows? What other Marvel possessor they bring in?
We'll see that
if
with
they do
if
that.
you gave him proselyte.
Yeah.
He'll do way more damage than Freddy because you give him super strength.
Yeah. Well, you know, I prefer hypersonicers with parallax because you automatically, you know, get the +1 to the attack right off the top that you don't necessarily need with this guy, but it means that you're doing a 14 attack with 4 damage, or you can use that other perplex point to do to the defense in case they are within range and stuff like that. I just think it's a little bit more flexible.
In your result, though, proselyte, I could get a +1 damage, so instead of having to perplex up that, I just give it to my attack.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's a good point.
That's what I was thinking.
Honestly, that's like the same. We're talking about the same benefit essentially.
But it's on opposite sides.
Yeah.
The only thinking I was going that is I guess parallax would do better defensively as getting impervious.
Yeah.
And proselyte gives super strength, so you get +1 damage, pick up a heavy object, you get +3 attack and +3 damage.
Good. Yeah. He's amazing. I think he's the best from what we've seen so far in the previews.
Yeah, 14 and 6 with proselyte if you do that.
Yeah, not cool, man.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna add in that sealed autoplay.
I'm sorry,
Wait, really? No.
Sorry,
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think he's too garbage for that.
All right. We have to move on now to.
And he's the common prime.
I know, man. It's insane.
All right. King Thor. We actually got a taste of the chases here. So we have his trait, Limitless Unstoppable Might. At the beginning of your turn, roll a d6 on a result of 5 or 6. Remove an action token from King Thor. He's got a white attack power. King Thor can use super strength. Each time King Thor makes an attack and the attack total is 3 or greater than the target's defense value, after actions resolved, he may make a close combat attack as a free action. He's got a special defense power. King Thor can use Impervious. If this click is revealed when taking damage, stop turning the dial. This power can't be ignored. He comes in at 369, 300, or 200. Power Cosmic, Flight, Range. Jordan, take the lead on this one.
Again, absolutely love this figure. I really like Odin from Fear itself, as he's kind of the same thing, but from before. This guy's what? 19 points more. A more, I guess I wouldn't say he's got a more powerful hypersonic speed because Odin has that doesn't half his range part.
Right.
But the 6 damage prob and that free attack if you go 3 over. All I'm gonna say is I'm gonna be making a lot of mistakes and probbing hit attacks just so I can go +3 over, and I'm gonna end in misses. Just pointing that out now.
Greedy.
That's a bad combination for me, but great for the power. He also has a really crazy defense power that, as we saw before, as click reel is revealed after taking damage, stop turning the dial, power can't be ignored. All stop clicks that can't be ignored are really good. That's all I just have to say about that.
That's a fair thing.
Yep.
He also has 2 of said stop click on each of his different starting lines.
Yeah.
So he's almost kind of like a Kyle Rayner, for example, where you hit him for 2, and he's still a monster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you hit him to monster status.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, in terms of, sorry, Jason, in terms of just pure 300-point meta, I don't necessarily think he's gonna make a showing. But
What do you mean?
I don't know. I'm just looking at it and I'm like, the stop click can't be ignored, but it can be countered. So if you OM8 him, and you somehow outwitted him in that stop click and then hit him for a few damage, then you can blow right past that other one. I mean, this is all situational thinking, right? So just
No, of course. Meta-wise, I don't think we'll see him, but
yeah.
I feel like he
at
does
200
pack a
points,
huge punch.
At 200 points, the 9/11/18-4 isn't that special in itself, but I do like that the same power that you were just raving about. If you're 3 over, but in many cases you're not 3 over, so that would come up not very commonly, especially when you go down the dial into the 9 attack. Even with things pumping him up by 3 at that point, it's a 12, but a 12 with a good roll is 3 over. With a 12 with an average roll is not. So I don't know. I mean, I like the self-leadership. That's cool. The self-leadership is nifty. But I'm not sure how useful he will be. Are you there, Jason?
I am.
I think we just lost Jordan there.
No, I'm here. I'm just trying.
Oh, your video's just not showing.
Okay. Yeah, his video just went out. So
Problem is great. Period.
My takeaway on this is one of those guys I wouldn't mind trying as a 300-point one-man army. One of the things that really stands out to me is that self-serving leadership style power, where on a 5 or 6 he removes an action token from himself. So on a good day, you're doing an action every turn, and I'd be doing that even if I had 1 action token just to kind of prevent the future from happening.
Yeah.
The defense power not being able to be ignored is great, although you're still able to suffer from the orange battery can't use status.
Yeah. Oh, one thing, while I have it in my head, I take back the outwit thing that I said before because he's cosmic.
That's right.
Unless you're using the Omega Drive, you just can't do that. So
yeah.
Take that
I've seen the Omega Drive played. In fact, I saw it played at Canadian Nationals, but I don't think, when you think about who can be having the Omega Drive, you can think about what this guy can do to that character.
I'm not a big fan of one-man armies without resources or support unless they can do an outrageous thing, like the zombie team base. This guy almost seems like he would lose in a fight to regular Thor at 200 points.
Well, yeah, it's possible. I mean,
his 300-point line would lose to 225-point Thor.
This is a don't have to remember anything, plug and play kind of character.
Yeah.
The only thing you got to remember is leadership for yourself.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is just running shot pulse wave, running shot pulse wave, running shot pulse wave. Okay, great. Yeah, it's a simpler character. I do like the fact that the upper click of 369 is there because then you can possibly use him in a larger game. In that case, because those clicks are insane.
Well, I feel like that's probably when he's most suited for.
But 100 points for 2 clicks is a little much.
You know what? At the 200-point value, I can see a hot dice day making somebody very frustrated because if you actually look at that white attack power, it's each time he makes an attack and the attack total is 3 or greater. That's not just limited to happening once.
No, yeah, it's every time.
The attack itself could proc it. The free action attack that you're getting.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of neat. But we're gonna move on to the next character now. That window was probably the one. Nope, there we go. We have Loki. Loki has improved targeting, ignore hindering, ignore characters. He's got a trait. He can use shape change and succeeds on a 4-6. When an opposing character targets Loki without wit or perplex, he can shape change as if it were targeted with an attack. when Loki makes a successful shape change roll, he can't be targeted for the remainder of the turn. Oh my god.
So annoying.
Yes, but we have a lot of anti-shape change in this set.
We do.
Thank God.
Thank Christ. To trick my brother and his friends with white movement power, Loki can use mind control. When he does, he isn't dealt damage from it, and if he targets only a single character, modify Loki's attack value by +2, and he may target a character that can use Battle Fury. Well, there goes that safety net on that one. This is okay. So we have a 225-point mystical, masterminding, higher point character. As far as the metagame is concerned, I've seen too much precision strike for me to even care about this. That's just been my opinion of it. But Mystics is always nice. A 4 to 6 shape change can be incredibly frustrating when you're used to opponents who usually roll the 5 or 6 as it is. And when an opposing character hits him or targets him without wit or perplex, he can use shape change as if he was targeted with an attack. And like right here, this whenever he makes a successful shape change, he can't be targeted for the remainder of the turn. I see why there's anti-shape change in this set. I see the reason for it, and it is this character right here. He stops an entire team from being able to target him, and he's even playable at his 120-point value. I mean. Poison, perplex to go with like a really decent mind control that doesn't take damage. Super senses is great, so you got shape change on an amazing roll. Super senses to go with that if somehow you missed that 4, 5, or 6 against me. Yeah. Anybody else got any takeaways from this one?
Yeah, he's great on his lower click and sealed.
Yep.
The mind control boost on top of having poison, with the bonus to the roll, perplex, super senses. So super senses shape change, and it's that broken ass shape change anyway. I mean, you're not gonna in sealed. You're not gonna necessarily pull anything that's anti shape change.
Right.
Well, in this set, you might.
You might, but it's not everybody in the room is gonna have that, and so this guy is gonna win. 75% of the time, at least.
My problem is that Precision Strike ruins his day for 70% of his dial for his point cost.
Right.
But I share the same thing you said. At 120 points, he gets Mind Control for 13 attack, Shape Change, Super Senses, Perplex. He could even have an 18 attack because the Perplex doesn't really need to go anywhere when you have a 13 attack.
Yeah.
So you could play it safe and start putting it to your defense.
Yep.
At 120 points, especially when he ignores all those things, he wouldn't be bad at a Taxi, Mystic, Perplex for your other teammates, hard to shoot, poison, mind control dude.
I just don't see why they made him so expensive, like for his upper clicks. Maybe I'm just missing it.
I think they forgot that Precision Strike was a power.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think they mitigated the cost of Mastermind with the cost or with the fact that Precision Strike's existence is the thing. Although as a whole, Precision Strike does exist. It may not exist as much in this set. We have to get a better look,
right?
With more of the figures that we have to see. But if no one else has anything else to add on this one, let's talk about the lady with the helmet, Moonstone. She's got a trait. She can use super senses, and it looks like, and Mike said this himself, ignores indoor blocking terrain. She's got a relatively colorful dial with the exception of her white damage power, where Moonstone can use Outwit. When she does, modify the target's defense value by -1 until your next turn. She's got Masters of Evil team ability, and take it away, Mike.
Woo! All right. Well, she can Colossal Push. That's cool. Running Shot, Pulse Wave right off the top. That's worth its points right there. The reason why I said that looks like indoor blocking, I mean, I've never seen the brown box with the eye in the middle before.
Yeah.
But she's a flyer, so it's the only place where it would actually make sense.
Yeah, and I don't see the eye on the PAC. That's why I get confused.
Yeah. The whole, she's the starting attacker. She outwits you, and then she pulse waves you, and then other people come in and do it. Even though the pulse wave goes through it anyway, it's great to do it to begin with because of the -1 to the defense value. Mm-hmm. So you're essentially, really, really good chance that you're going to hit. Energy shield deflection, always a great power. She's obviously not meant to be based a lot of the time. A little perplexed later on in the dial. I like that a lot. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the Masters of Evil team ability. So I think, in a pinch, I can push myself and pulse wave again. It's great.
Jordan, anything add on? Jordan?
I think he's gone.
Jordan, he may have dropped. We may have lost Jordan.
Yeah, his internet connection failed.
Yeah, he had to drop out. All right. My takeaway on this one is it's a different take on Moonstone. This is gonna be one of those characters. I'm not brave enough to use the Masters of Evil early dial on this one. I don't want to push too hard to go unless if this is a constructed game. You're probably going to see me tactic her up to something with willpower, probably alongside of Jenny Sparks, maybe on a Green Lantern team, as an example, so that I don't take that first push, but I'll just keep going past that. The late dial super strength can come through in a pinch in the right timing, and she can pick up an ultra heavy at that point too, because she's 126 points, so that could be 5 damage with a 12 attack, under the right circumstances. 7 range pulse wave is great, so for 4 range. Overall, a relatively decent character, and I brought this up with you before the show. Amber noticed that this is a 31A figure, and we're of the prediction that we might see our Squadron Supreme Prime out of this one. Yeah. Power Princess.
Power Princess.
So we may not be out of the dark yet on seeing another Squadron Supreme character to use that ATA with. But yeah, so we're going to move on to the last character we have on this, which looks like, of course, the window I closed.
Wait a minute. There is one last thing to say about her.
Okay, you go ahead and do that while I try to find the...
Murder is a maid called Moonstone. It's actually what it says on the back of her card on that Hulk comic.
Murder is a maid called
Moonstone.
Wow, they were winners back then in the department, eh? Give me a second here. Okay. Sorry about this, folks. I accidentally closed the window with the last figure we have to preview here, and
Korvac.
Yep, here he is. We have Korvac. So what I want to point out with this set, first of all, before I get into him, is we're seeing a lot of really big guys that do some weird stuff. And it's going to be an interesting sealed environment for this set. This might take away already. But starting with his white movement power, which he doesn't get until click 4. Travel through space and time. He can use phasing teleport. When he does, if he moves half his speed value or less after actions resolve, he may make a ranged combat attack as a free action, modifying his range value of 9 minus 2. He's got a white defense power once per game. When this power is revealed, stop turning the dial. Korvac can use Invincible. For the rest of the game, Korvac can use the Power Cosmic team ability. Even if this power is lost, this power can't be ignored. So he doesn't, if you look at him, he doesn't start fantastically. He's got toughness, he's got perplex. He's decent with phasing and all this, but he's not great. And then this is going to be the Sphinx of the sealed of this set, where you hit him and then bam! Oh crap! That was silly of me. And he's got a white damage power, which he gets on his last 3 clicks. He can use Outwit, Perplex, and Probability Control. Are those powers any good? They seem all right.
They're okay. They're just okay. Yeah, no, I mean that stop click is only click 4 too. I mean, he's crazy long dial, not crazy long, but long dial, and I mean you want him to get hit in the beginning essentially. I mean you can use him at 10 attack, but I'd prefer to have 12 with pulse wave personally.
Yeah, absolutely, and also worth mentioning too is he's going to lead his dial is going to lead to a lot of turnaround games that people will not see coming.
You'll be able to tell if he's in the pack though too. If you look at how big his sculpt is, you'll be able to tell it'll be heavy and clunky.
Yeah, he's going to be the Shaggy Man of this set
for sure.
And I mean, as far as constructed is coming, are Badoon's going to make a comeback because of this guy? I don't know.
I think it leads into the whole Guardians of the Galaxy Badoon guys, So you see him with a bunch of little tiny generics.
Yep. Yeah. So that's all we got for Avengers Assembled previews. We've been running pretty long already, so we're gonna start getting to our fan questions. If you have any questions to add, get them in now because we have 2 or 3 right now, and last time we got a ton of them at the last second. So now is your chance to get in any other questions you want to ask in the comments down below there, or on the Facebook link that you hopefully got to this by, or yeah. So we have from Chris. Excuse me if I butcher your last name here, Chris Prabanik. Do you guys feel like capture may be a viable option for the Gloop team that's so dominant right now? If there are any still going to be, or if there are still going to be any modern legal capture figures after the cut before Worlds? Mike, what do you think?
Sorry, say that part again one more time. You kind of cut out for me there.
Yeah. Do you feel like capture may be a viable option for the Gloop team that's dominating right now?
It's not. It's not a destroyer because that team has 2 attackers. So in that particular instance, you would have to be set up really well to go back to your base very, very quickly as the capturer. Because depending on who you go, either Dupe or Gluttony are going to eat you. Because all you have to do in that case is actually hit him.
Right. Okay. So I got all of a sudden one of my conversations started going, and I'm just going to mute it for an hour there. Yeah. It captures an option. I don't know how many capture characters, like you said, are going to be in the game. Because actually somebody linked me a team last night, and I was too beat to answer the question. But he was talking about using sniper rifle with leash to deal with that. And, well, I can guarantee if cuts happen before April, leash is not even an option because Teen Titans will be cut. And I don't know about that. That Commissioner Gordon was from Arkham Origins, right?
Yeah. No, he was. No, I think he was GCPD, wasn't he?
Oh, so Streets of Gotham.
Yeah.
I Streets of Gotham is a set I wanted to get, and then the store I buy it from sold out real quick. Kind of like 10th anniversary stuff I had to go hunting individually for.
Yeah.
So,
the other thing to mention about the Gloop team versus capture is the Gloop team generally stay together. They're kind of like a pair that go out because they work really, really well that way. Yeah. So it'd be really hard to capture one and then not get smashed by the other. And
the fellow that asked the same question, what figures do you guys feel synergize with the orange battery competitively? I'm going to start with this one. I built a team for Amber that used the Mr. Freeze from the Batman 66 set. The Indigo battery melds really well with teams with that figure because you stop a lot of counterattack options. The Mr. Freeze stops range combat attacks that aren't incapacitated inside of 4 squares, whereas the Indigo battery will stop attacks coming from outside of 4 squares at range. So you're forcing a close combat attack all day, every day. That's including any sharpshooters that are adjacent to either of these guys. So that's a good combination to start a big bubble of stoppage. And then what I ran into a lot, and noticed actually got second place, was the Indigo battery with Phantom X. Because what Phantom X will do is sit in the starting area, and then he'll take advantage of the fact that you can't get there by sitting in the starting area and then limiting the range that you can attack him at to a 4 range.
And then barrier.
Yeah, and then barrier. So let's not lie. The sit in the starting area team still exists, but I think Phantom X didn't get hit with the Nerf bat because I feel like this is one of those reasons I feel like Wolverine and the X-Men is going to be phased out shortly, is because characters like Phantom X didn't get addressed as far as watchlisted.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Also, Eva can be killed, so it's not like the Falcon where the Falcon doesn't die.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing to mention about that is he did pair. I mean, he'll be retired, but in the meantime, he paired really, really well with Black Talon, and just mind controlling him and using his ability through Eva and everything else. It's 2 attacks per turn, minus resting, of course. And I did fight against one of those teams actually at one point, and it took me a little bit by surprise, but it's dealable. It's something you can deal with. It's not something that's impossible to deal with, even with a single attacker.
Yeah.
In terms of other orange stuff, though, I played with Orange Battery and Kyle Rayner, and it's incredibly good together with Ophidian. because you've got running shot, pulse wave, and then they can't use pulse wave. They can't use running shot. They can't use improved movement. They can't use improved targeting. They can't, or not improved targeting in that case, but they can't use a whole series of different powers because of that pairing. And in the meanwhile, you're just eating them, and then barriering, and then eating them some more. Nom 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 nom.
Yeah. So hopefully I answered your question with regards to competitively using the Indigo battery. As like I said, there's figures that we're seen using it very competitively, and it is still an option. It's still viable. It's just a matter of who's using it. That's one thing I kind of want to take a second to point out. With the number of teams that I've seen, the different variations of teams that we've seen, I'm not like I'm calling this one like I did last year as the year of the pilot. The person behind the team seems to be the thing that's making the teams great, and that includes the ability to use a team, the ability to practice with the team, the ability to function well with the team as a whole, and that's a big factor in the game right now. And Kenny has proven it by using the same team twice, even though his team becoming public has made that very, very well known. He's able to run this team because he knows his team back to front, and as a result, he's able to work around. Like I said, he worked around a Jenny Sparks team, which could potentially one-shot kill a Gluttony. So if he can keep the positioning proper or keep the Jenny Sparks from doing anything to him, he can outplay it. So the year of the pilot, if you will. So yeah, where I'm going with that is, yeah, the Indigo battery has its competitive options. It's just a matter of can the man behind the stick take those options and run with them. Right.
But yeah, no, the Indigo is definitely viable.
Also, any team that you want to limit your counter attack options on. The team I built for Amber, in addition to that Mr. Freeze Indigo battery combo, had Johnny Quick and an Angel from the WizKids from the monthly OP kits. The Angel was there because originally it was a Jay Garrick to get 2 hypersonicers, kind of doing a whole bunch of work for you. I added the Angel as a carrier, also as a transporter who gets close combat expert, which really worked well. And it also took away a lot of her weak matchups as far as the map was concerned, because there's a lot of elevated terrain was stopping her. So adding a carrier worked. But part of the importance of that team was being able to bring Mr. Freeze out there and just going, can't come back at me, right? Because if Mr. Freeze isn't out there with that team, then the team isn't doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that was actually one of the things I showed Amber late in the practice, because I took the gears behind that team for one of our practice games, and then kind of she gave her some more ideas. So next up we have John Allspatch. What are your thoughts on who the other chases might be other than King Thor? Mike, do you have any idea?
I haven't even thought about it, to be honest with you.
Honestly, I've looked through Wikipedia. This is not one of the easy ones to find, because King Thor is like Thor with the Odin Force, and then I can't find the specific storyline myself where it related to it and how that storyline came to be. If there's an overarching storyline, if this is part of Axis or something, I don't know.
It could be that it's different versions of the main Avengers characters. So you'd end up with like Falcon Captain America, right, as one of them. Or you'd have I'm just trying to think of something for Tony Stark as well. Or drunken, no armor Tony Stark. I don't know.
Now that you think about it, we could be going on like way off versions of them. We might see the return of Mr. I don't remember the name of the future evil Hulk. Nope, it's gone.
Or Old Man Logan Hulk.
Old Man Logan. No.
That would be amazing, man. And but it would be a duo with one of his like inbred grandchildren. That would be amazing.
Like I was reading Old Man Logan, I was like, this is good. Then I got to see Inbred Hulk, so I was like, are you kidding me?
It's awesome. It's so good.
Now come from that a point of view as like a longtime childhood Hulk fan.
Still awesome. It's okay. He can be better sometimes.
How does a genius go to an inbreeding thing?
Well, the only woman who could deal with him is his cousin.
Anyway, so yeah, we could be talking about alternate versions or hyper-powered versions of them. Again, because I don't know about the storyline, I can't really speculate. We might even just see alternate versions of just Thor this time around.
Maybe.
Who knows, right? Your guess is as good as mine, but let's go with alternate versions of cool characters, and we'll see if I was wrong. I probably am. And next, Chris Stockhouse asks, did anybody there happen to watch Kenny's matchup versus Jenny Sparks, and how did he pull that off? Feel free to save this for a Champ Chat episode with our U.S. I might, because I have been talking to Kenny about doing an episode with him, possibly this weekend. I got to get actually back in touch with him once he's had a chance to relax after this weekend. But he also says, just to say it again, Jason's matchup against Sharif was probably one of the more entertaining games I've ever seen. I want to just go out there and say, Sharif said, can I put the Batcave on the Brainiac ship? And we all said yes. And then we all said, do it. And then I said, stop.
And then I ran over to Alex and said, you got to put that on camera.
Yeah. And then I turned to him and I said, I want to play against that. And then in the first round of the tournament, I had to play against that. It was probably one of the most stressful experiences of my life as far as the game is concerned, as being under camera. Because now I've got to prove that this team can take something this size on. And map choice was a big key to it. I'm not gonna lie. And of course, I know Sharif. He was actually staying in my hotel room this weekend, along with myself, Amber, and Jay. And then he stayed with us in Windsor for the ROC. And we initially met him at the ROC at the Comic Warehouse, the ROC Winamap. And we actually we had a chance to we've known each other since then, and so we've had a lot of fun playing. And the 2 times I got to play him in the tournament, it was very exciting to play with him. We were both having a ton of fun and really enjoying ourselves. And
that guy has the best attitude, out of anybody. He's only been playing for 3 months, I think, 3 or 4 months now.
Give or take.
Such a fantastic attitude when it comes to the game. I love it. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
The real question is though, was he big spoon or little spoon, Jason?
I was a jetpack all weekend. So next up we have Kevin Newman. Is there a way to watch the stream of the Nationals now that it's done? I missed it on the weekend. Carta Magica does have a YouTube channel. Carta Magica TV is the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
They have uploaded 1 game so far since the filming of this episode, and while we're talking right now, I'll give it a quick refresh to see. In fact, it is it's the first round of the first sealed qualifier. So if you're as I said earlier, if you're watching that video, listen very carefully around 4.5 minutes, and you hear me scream "Mob Rule," and I wasn't even on the camera. I was nowhere near the camera for that. And that was the most exciting part of my game against Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, Kevin, they take a little bit of time to upload sometimes. I noticed last year it took a few days. But everything will be up on Carta Magica's YouTube channel very, very soon. In fact, they may repost it onto their Facebook page like they did last year as well. So you can follow them in the meantime, and I'd suggest you do because they're a good group of people. And the top 32 prizing was fantastic. Overall, the weekend went off really, really well. There was just that one little blip on day one, little quote unquote blip on day one in the first constructed qualifier, but I think that they run a pretty good show, I must say. Yeah, so thank you, Alex, Eric, Steve, Andy, and all of the locals there as well.
And special to Patrick and Vince who were commentating on the games.
Yeah.
It was fun to be on the mic with Vince. I love you too, you jerk.
We have Charles too, one of the guys who works there.
We have something of a friendly rivalry growing, and he earned all kinds of respect in my game against the Brainiac ship. He said so. We're friends again, apparently, even though apparently we were enemies, and I don't remember how this happened. Love you, Vince. So we're gonna take one more quick check from any more questions that make it out there. Love Distro. Okay. We have Chad Ebenick. Love the show. Listening in Detroit. What is the new set cutoff for Modern / Golden Age? And when did or does that take effect? And after seeing the new Avengers cards, what's your opinion of them? How do we get? Holy smokes!
Not one question. That's several.
There's several. Okay, so what's the new set cutoff for Modern Golden Age? I can guarantee as far as just before Wolverine and the X-Men, Wolverine and the X-Men is the bubble set I'm referring to. I'm not sure if it's going to make the cut or be cut. So we'll see. That's what I'm guessing. So for Marvel 10th Anniversary is the oldest set right now, and the oldest set after that is either going to be Wolverine and the X-Men or the set that came after Wolverine and the X-Men.
And in terms of timing, we don't know exactly. They haven't announced anything, but May-ish is something that I've heard. But either that or June after Worlds.
We're hoping because we want this to happen. It generally happens before Worlds every year, so that we have a brand new set of Modern just before Worlds. That's actually a little bit more limited, and that could be a big factor right now in what makes the metagame so varied. So I don't know. It's a mixture of good and bad with having such a big metagame. There's a lot of things to plan for, but the bad is that there's a lot of things to plan for.
Yeah.
Right. And
so the ID cards, right?
Yeah, after seeing the new Avengers cards, what's your opinion of them? How do we get them? I am looking forward to using them. I'm actually planning on using them this week at my table game. And I'm trying to find a way to get all 3 in there because I do have the Ares from Chaos War, and since it's my table game, I can use whatever I want.
Yeah.
In order to get them, well, the 3 that have been released so far, the Shang-Chi, the Ares, and the Daredevil.
Shang-Chi. Here's Shang-Chi.
Yeah. And
Ares.
Ares. Oh, geez. I don't even have you on focus. Hold on a second. There we go. Ares.
Yeah, I'll go back to Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi.
And Daredevil.
And Daredevil.
Yeah.
Now, these 3 were released at U.S. Nationals, and surprise, surprise, Canadian Nationals. Nobody told us that. We were all informed that they weren't going to be at Canadian Nationals, and we're very excited / surprised / I was a little annoyed because I bought them beforehand at a secondary market price to see them show up at the tournament. So one of these 2 tournaments was the place to get them. Otherwise, you're looking for people who grabbed quite a few extras. The way that they were giving them out in this case was for participation in battle royales at the tournament, as well as some random prizing for fellowship.
Yep.
And that was how you got them here. Again, they weren't even planned to be part of the prizing for Canadian Nationals, so it was a pleasant surprise to see them there and very exciting to see them there. And I hope we get more of the similar prizing that the U.S. Nationals gets more often from here on in because it's a good thing to have.
Absolutely. One of the things I like about them, too, is that they have these codes. Focus on that for a sec. I don't know if you can...
No, don't focus on the code because they'll take your code.
No, I've already used it.
Oh, have you? Okay.
I've already used it. They have these codes at the bottom on the back of the page, and you can go onto your WizKids, onto the WizKids Entertainment or event system, and input the code for achievements. I know that might not mean much to some people, but I love that stuff. It's like a little bit of extras, and maybe they'll go back to sending you the odd LE in the mail every once in a while, which I've only heard about because I'm still very young in the game in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, well, and just to explain what he's talking about, there's a point in the old pre-NECA days where they had something we lovingly referred to as the loser prize. And what it was is if you hadn't on the original WizKids event system, every tournament was listed, every tournament had what the prize would be, and every tournament the results for fellowship and winner were always posted on there. And what happened is they would track who won and who didn't win prizes. And if you didn't win prizes, you were entered into a draw to get figures in the mail. And as I discovered this completely by happenstance because I was the first wave of people to get it. And it was an old, the Ultimate set, I believe, the Ultimate Rhino, the Alex O'Hearn LE. If you go back in time and look at that figure, it was terrible. But at the same time, it's like, I just got an LE in the mail. Why did I get this LE in the mail? And it was because I was on a big losing streak at that point. So all of a sudden, I got some prizing for that. So if they link some of these achievements, that would be amazing. At the same time, I bought an Xbox and kept with the Xbox because achievements. And I still I'm one of the few guys that actually is okay with Windows Live games on my PC because achievements.
So, yeah, that's what I love about my PS4 too. There's lots and lots of achievements to get.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to be one of those elements that's in most things now. But yeah, you were saying.
Gaming my collection. Just do that to me, and you have my life.
Another thing to talk about with these is that they're not relics. They're not considered to be a relic element. So they're
a resource.
Or a resource. So they're additional elements. So you can use them as long as you pay the cost, which is 5 points for each one, and it basically gives you a guy for a turn. Yep. Which is amazing and can be so clutch depending on the situation. Aside from that, each one gives you an inspiration. So basically, for the Daredevil one, for example, you can use any modern age Daredevil in a modern tournament. Anybody named Daredevil you can use as a result of this. But you also get the inspiration value, which is different for each card. And on the Daredevil one, it's can use, leap, climb, improved movement, ignores hindering, and improved targeting ignores hindering. So, I mean, that is pretty awesome. And that's for anybody, I believe, that's adjacent to him, or it's within a certain number of spaces. What is it, Jason? Do you remember?
Adjacent to them. Inspirations occur adjacent to the character.
Yeah.
So some of them are different situations than others. It could be, in Daredevil's case, it's an escape status. Use that leap and climb to get the heck out of there, or use the improved targeting to hit that guy in the bush.
Yeah, hit the Stealth Buster.
Actually, the current versions that are available in the Deadpool set also come with ignore hindering for line of fire. So Daredevil comes in, and your friend next to him comes in and shoots a guy in the bush.
The guy in the bush, yeah.
Yep.
But it's limited also to the point cost. Like the character who's bringing it in has to take a power action, I believe.
Yep.
When they do, the character they bring in has to be lower points than they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're limited
lower, or is it just lower? It probably says right here.
I think it should be on those cards. And one of the things I'm noticing while you're looking that up, two of the characters already exist, and one of them is Golden Age, but that kind of gives me the hint that we're going to see a new Ares, which makes me happy because I like Ares as a character. He's a very favorite of mine, and the inspiration ability on the Ares is really cool. The range / close combat steel energy can come in really handy in a pinch. As well as Ares as a character, we know he's going to come in swinging with a big attack. Sorry, Mike, is it equal to or lower, or
equal to or lower?
Equal to or lower. So, like, with the Daredevil, if you have 108 points or more in a character, you're able to take a power action with and drop him out, that's great. Yeah. I know the Shang-Chi that exists out there is 90 points, and he's also really good. Yeah. And also worth noting is it's not just the character names that are relevant; it's the real names. You can have a character. If there's let's say there's a Matt Murdock character who just happens to not be Daredevil. I'm just throwing out a hypothetical.
Yeah, because it does say the real name on the card just below the Daredevil there too.
Yeah, and it's part of the wording of the card is character shares either the character name or the real name, and then you could be popping them out. So I immediately checked to see if Cat was just another version of Shang-Chi to be absolutely sure that Shang-Chi was my only option with him. Because I got really excited that guy was coming out as a card. Of course, somebody would throw in another cousin pounding joke with regards to the Hulk. But it looks like we've all but one more question, which was slightly directed at Amber, who has fallen asleep on the couch over there. As I'm sure you can understand, we're tired from a very busy weekend at National. So I'll do my best to answer this one. How do you guys handle annoying players at your venues? So I want to go directly on this. It's hard to define what you see as an annoying player. So I'm going to, when I answer this question, to define two specific behaviors that I can see as people seeing as annoying. And then I'll explain how you kind of handle that situation. But I don't think the first one you're really going to like. And it's one behavior that can be seen as an annoying player is a player who is competitive all the time. When you get into collectible games, some guys get into it not for the source material. The thing about HeroClix is HeroClix does have a source material behind it, and that's neat, and it's cool to have comic books behind it, but that's just an added bonus of the fact that there is a game here. And some guys don't care about these comic book characters. They care about this game, which is really cool as well. So one of the things you just got to have to deal with is this is going to be a guy who doesn't give a crap about comic books and isn't going to – he's going to play competitive. Because one of the things you got to understand is even though your local tournaments are tournaments – are local, they are tournaments and they are competitive and there's a prize at the end of it. So like if you really if you are a judge and you don't want that behavior, you have to talk to the player specifically, but you as a judge also have to understand that if you're going to reward winning, people want to try to win. You can't you can't specifically target that behavior, and people have to understand is the more players we have playing this game, the better this game is. And for every person who complains about a player who comes into a local tournament and, you know, wins with a team that's meta, when I hold a competitive tournament, 30-odd people show up at my local venue for a low-level competitive tournament where 6 people show up for a casual tournament. Which one gets more attendance, right? More people want to play competitively than a lot of people give credit for.
It's a business,
right?
too.
And yeah, the people running these stores want people in the seats. So it's really hard to say don't play competitively unless you strictly restrict the build, and people will always try to break the build. One tournament I had recently where it was like you must bring a Colossal or a Giant, and one guy brought that character from GSX that gets bonuses to attacking Colossals, and he brought the Chase Thanos. He specifically targeted the tournament. I mean, it's going to happen, and it's just it's something as a player you either have to recognize you're in a competitive environment and it's something that's just going to happen, or you unfortunately are just going to have to suck it up.
There are prizes involved. People will try to win.
And that's all there is to it. As far as the second annoying behavior, and that is I could see as cheating or being argumentative or mouthy with the judge. Remember, as a judge, you do have the final say. So if you have a ruling and it is, you know, you can prove it's correct via WES or some other source that is like the rule book say or the PAC, the PAC. That's the final word, and your interpretation of it at that local is right that week. And if you're wrong that week, then you come back the next week and say I was wrong, and here's what it is. And then the argumentative player, you're just going to have to start, you know, being stern with them and saying, look, that's the ruling, deal with it, and get from there. Like specific behaviors are really hard to say what is annoying. Don't get me wrong. I can understand what people are seeing as this, but dealing with the players is, as a judge, you have to understand that this is something you're going to have to deal with and you have to recognize. And it's your responsibility as I'm hoping an adult to have to deal with. I mean, hopefully it's a mature enough group playing the game. I mean, the game is targeted at 14+, so most people 14+ can be negotiated with. Most I've seen some pretty stern arguers and pretty stubborn people, but you're going to come across the occasional behavior that not everybody's going to like, but you have to find out what's a behavior that's actually terrible and what's a behavior that's people are just going to have to tolerate and is acceptable as far as the game's concerned. That's the best way I can answer that. I mean, Mike, do you have anything to say about that? Or
pretty much covered it, but I did find something out about the cat. The cat is not the same character. His real name is Shen Kui.
Oh yeah, I double checked. That's what I was saying. Is I double checked that to be sure that Shang-Chi was the only option I had, so that you know, I knew where I was limited and where I wasn't limited.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm actually getting that.
Don't get me wrong.
I'm picking up the Shang-Chi actually next Wednesday from some guy on a trade, so I'll be well equipped with my ID cards. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. I've got this weird thing for Kung Fu comic books, and getting Shang-Chi in my initial brick as one of my rares made me quite content. In fact, I had originally, me and a couple of the guys from the U.S. had planned to do some fun 500-point games, but the pace of the weekend just didn't leave me any time to do anything with anybody, and I apologize for anybody I might have said, let's do something after the tournament or in between tournaments or anything like that. I got stuck in all the qualifiers on the first day, and then I was a wreck when I came in on the Friday as it was. Although I did get, you know, we had a lot of fun at the meet and greet. That was a good old riot, and I was good and rowdy for that one.
Team Spaceship.
Team Spaceship won the trivia.
Yeah.
You beat us by like 1.5 points.
It was a 1.5 points, but we still won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe I was the only one who got the World of Warcraft question right, though.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, yeah, I remember one of my teammates was like, "No, it's The Sims because it makes sense in this way." I'm like, "Well, okay, fine." I don't care.
Yeah, and I distinctly remember that one actually because I was playing at the time it happened.
Right.
It was like, wait, what just happened here, guys? I'm gonna quickly check if anybody has asked any questions on Reddit. Otherwise, it looks like we're pretty not available on mobile devices. Sorry, Phaedrox. Yeah, all right. So that's all we have for this evening. Thank you, everybody who stuck with us. We had another almost 2-hour Meta Lab with another large batch of previews. So hopefully next week we don't have any previews and we don't have a nationals to talk about. But yeah, thanks you guys for joining us. Thanks you guys for watching in the archives. I just want to let everybody know that this weekend was the cutoff for the Pandora's Box contest. We got 6 teams in. I have to start playing them out with some against some other teams. And it'll probably start after we do some filming tomorrow. We will play out the games and see how your teams do. We got some interesting ones and some really, really off-the-wall versions of it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing if these Pandora Box teams do pace themselves out properly. And we do have we do have a lot coming. We have a lot of work coming ahead of us for that. We'll try to film the final game with that when we get a chance. Mike, anything to add on the way out?
No, it's all good. Thanks very much for watching.
All right, yeah, thank you guys for watching and staying with us. You guys all have a good night. And remember, practice makes your team better. And stay with us.